Hi, I have been hired as the transition manager to monitor the transition activities between DBS the client and IBM the IT service provider. As a transition manager, my role steps in after the contract signature and just before the service delivery phase. The execution model is based on the transition process model, which comprises of three phases: familiarize, adapt and accelerate. First phase, known as familiarize, lasts for 2 months. As the name suggests, it means getting to know each other. So IBM and DBS will align their expectations, and IBM will get an initial understanding of the activities that it is required to perform as a result of the outsourced activities. Because of this, I will initiate several meetings and conferences between the managers of both IBM and DBS. They will discuss the scope and the delivery schedule. Based on these two things, we will come up with a set of transition or pilot projects, or they are also called as small releases, that will be delivered during the transition phase. After this, the knowledge transfer will start. We will identify the key IT personnel from IBM and the subject matter experts from DBS who will impart the knowledge transfer. And we will also make sure that these two sets of employees are available during the whole transition period. The second phase is the most critical phase, and it lasts for 4 months. By now, we already assume that IBM and DBS have gained an initial understanding of each other's organizational settings. The first set of pilots, comprising of low complexity requirements and low volume of requirements, will be executed because we want to determine the operating model between DBS and IBM. This phase is known as adapt because IBM and DBS constantly work in validating and remodifying the operating model that exists between them, and IBM gets an further level down, a deeper understanding of the DBS specific applications. Now, how it's done, we set up a communication process wherein I will ensure that IBM splits its communication across 4 sites. That is 2 on-sites based out of Singapore and Hong Kong because of the location of the data center, which will host the design team. 1 offshore, which will consist of the development team based out of India, and 1 onshore, which will host the design team, which will carry out the functional design and work with DBS SMEs. In the meanwhile, I will also work with DBS project managers and ensure that they constantly work to improve the internal process, as well as they redefine the roles and responsibilities of the key IT retained personnel of DBS. Now we will execute the second set of pilots, which will comprise of high complexity requirements yet low volume, because we want to increase the competence and also test the competence of IBM whether they can actually deliver complex requirements or not. By the end of phase 2, the second set of pilots have already executed, and now we enter the third phase, which is known as accelerate. Now we execute the third set of pilots, which comprise of high complex requirements and high volume of requirements. The objective is because we want to, both IBM and DBS, they are rapidly validating the modifications that have happened in both the organizations, and they're also comparing that the performance criteria that they had set initially meets the service delivery process. The outcome of this phase is the service delivery process. We assume that by the end of working for 2 months in a managed operations state, which is also known as pseudo delivery phase, both IBM and DBS, they have acquired the expected level of maturity and experience in performing joint service delivery together. Thank you.